Hello, and welcome back to my home here in Northeast Oklahoma. I'm Chip Jones, also known as the Preppy Gardener, and we're out today, finally back out in the garden after what has seemed like an entire spring's worth of rain. We've had over 20 inches of rain in this area of the country, and for this time of year, that is just unheard of. So it has really delayed the planting. And as we walk around the garden today, you'll see that there's still a lot of places that I'm waiting to put in some plants. It has been so incredibly wet that I'm wanting things to dry up just a little bit. I'm going to be redesigning some spaces, so I don't like digging up a lot of the ground when it's just soaking wet. But here at the front of the house, I have been working to just get things cleaned up, painted. We actually put some new paint on the square planters. We're going to be planting those up over the next week. But if you'll notice back here, I did get in these beautiful Rockin Playin the Blues salvia from Proven Winners. This has just been a mainstay in this area. They get between, I think, 24 to 36 inches tall, and they're just perfect to go here along the walkway as you're coming into the front door. Of course, they're here behind the peach drift roses. The peach drift roses, they've really done pretty well through the rain, but it's time to deadhead them, give them a little fertilizer, and get them re-energized to do some more bloom. So that's a project I'm going to be working on here in the next week as well. And then one of the new plants that I'm going to be trying this year, because I've never tried it, it's one that so many people have talked about being successful for them, is the Supertunia Vista Bubblegum from Proven Winners. I've never grown it. I've had customers that talk about it out at the nursery. We've grown it out at the nursery, and I've seen it in so many landscapes. I've actually never grown it here at the farm. So this year, I'm going to try it. Put the Supertunia Vista Bubblegum out front. I hope by the end of the summer, it's really just taken over this entire area. I didn't put as many plants in this area that I typically do either, because I know that everyone says they just grow so massively and huge. And I'm going to be actually putting some in the planters as well. So I think that'll be a nice combination to have this bright pink mixed in with this peach. And then if you'll notice just over on the side, the catmint looks beautiful today. This variety is the Walker's Low catmint, kind of the old-fashioned variety. It's been around for quite a while. It just performs really well for me, and it's one of the early plants that I put into these beds. So again, it's going to be kind of a pink, peach, and purpley blue combination, and I'm sure as we go throughout the summer, I'll be checking back in, giving you some updates, and we're going to see how well this performs here at the front. But if it fills in this entire mulched area, I can't wait to see what that looks like. So now if you'll come along, we're going to step over in front of the breakfast room window, and I'm going to show you a few things that are in bloom there today. So coming on across, you can see that I've planted the Anouk lavender, which hasn't loved all of this rain, but it is on a little bit of a slope, so it hasn't been just sitting in water. So I'm hoping it's going to continue to perk back up as we get into more warmer temperatures. Of course, the skyscraper salvia over in front of the breakfast window, which is one of those hummingbird favorites. I've cut back kind of half of it here and there because it's needing to flush out some new blooms, but I hate cutting all of the blooms away because if the hummingbirds get used to coming there, I want there still to be some blooms there. So I did some fertilizing earlier today, so hopefully those will be perking back up. Of course, here I have the Supertunia Vista Bubblegum again. I'm hoping it's going to fill in this area all across the front. But today, one of my favorite plants in bloom is this beautiful pinky peachy colored hollyhock. Of course, if you've seen any of my videos, I'm usually talking about hollyhocks. This one's been so pretty. And then all in behind here, I've left seedlings of zinnia and hollyhock. What I'm hoping is to have this entire area kind of filled in with a lot of those hollyhocks throughout the coming years. I try to let these go to seed. And then, as you can see, they're beautiful bloom in between the roses blooming and the salvia, which has been cut back. And I love having something in bloom in this area all the time. And this, as you can see, is going to be blooming for quite a while. But hopefully just within the next week or so, if you look down, the daylilies are just bursting with bud. These are going to be filling out here before we know it. This is more of a purplish tone. Again, it's one that I got from Shriners up in Oregon. I can't remember the variety of it, but it's absolutely a beautiful, beautiful daylily. And again, just in bud. So hopefully, as we're getting more and more sun, they'll start to come on out. Now let's walk on up to the front. I want to show you what we did at the entrance to the sidewalk, and we will pick up the tour from there. So here at the entrance to the sidewalk, I can just see tons of the pollinators really going crazy. Of course, they just love this Rockin Playin the Blues salvia. And as you can see, all we have done this spring is plant it. I have not done any trimming or fertilizing, and I want you to look at just how beautiful these plants are. Again, it's one of those plants, and I have friends come to visit. They're always asking, what is this plant? And it's one I say everyone should have in the garden every year because it is such a performer. Of course, we've had weeks of rain, and then we're going to have weeks of heat coming in, and it just never stops. So one that I certainly would recommend to everyone to try. But here at the front, the catmint is starting to come to life again. This is the Walker's Low variety here. The lamb's ear is looking great, but as you look back in this area, there's not a lot of color. We've been doing some trimming back. As you can tell, the double take orange quince actually has a different shape to it because we've actually taken it down by pretty much a third. On one of the cooler days when it was nice and cool and wet, we actually trimmed it back, as well as the sweet Mademoiselle roses. We've cut those back. They were doing really well, but they had really finished their first flush of bloom. We wanted to get those cut back, give them some fertilizer so they can really start to bring out another flush of blooms, hopefully here within the next 2 to 3 weeks. But for now, as I said before, the Rockin Playin the Blues salvia, it's really the star plant of the garden right now. But even not having tons of bloom, I think just with the purple heart down at the front, the stripe of the liriope, and just the different color tones, I think it's a really pretty nice lush bed right now. One other thing is blooming just behind us. So I want to step over that way and give you an update on the Urn Garden. So this new garden that we've just started off of the side of the parking court is really starting to come together. Of course, the Hostas have absolutely loved the rain. They're starting to fill in nicely, along with the hellebore. And then other plants that have only been here a year are the Limelight Prime hydrangeas, which those are now up to about 4 feet. And they're going to have beautiful limey green blooms to start with, and then turning to a beautiful white, which I think will nicely complement the urn. But today you've just got to see the beautiful Acanthus, or the bear's breeches. They are beautiful. Just look at these beautiful plumes, and the foliage is really a standout. I just love this plant, and I think it was the perfect plant to put in this area. So low maintenance. I have not had to do anything to it. This area has really been forgotten every year because there's not so many blooming things in this area. There are no roses, there's no salvia, nothing that needs to be cut back. But as you can see, I think these Acanthus have really liked being just left alone. And I just love the complement of the lighter florets and how it plays off the white of the urn. Don't do a ton of white in the garden because sometimes it stands out a lot more than a lot of the colors. But I think having this more of a monochrome type of garden in this area, certainly with a classical motif of the urn, I think it just fits really well. And then if you'll just look down in front, this is one of the reasons why we really haven't been out gardening and doing much mulching. After having 20 inches of rain, it has completely washed a lot of the mulch down in places where it should not be. And as you can see, it's come down so fast at times, it just pools and puddles. This is kind of the runoff down to our creek, what actually leads into our pond. So you have a lot of water flow off of the front of the house, but having that much, I mean, one day we had up to 6 inches just in one day. So it really did mess this area up. So that's another thing we're going to be working on, getting this up and leveled back out, because this is one of those areas that I'm going to be bringing in the flagstone. So I want to get that path set before too long. Then we can begin to plant all around the edges of the path. Now we're going to step over to the upper berm. We have a few things in bloom over there, and I want you to take a look. So now we've moved over to the upper berm, and this is always a garden that's in transition. There's so many different perennials coming and going. But this year, the hollyhock has been the star. I love the way this hollyhock has turned out here. Several different colors. There's kind of a peach, a white, a pink, and then I have this raspberry color. And this one has been so beautiful. I've planted seeds of the black, which I is my ultimate favorite. I'm having a hard time getting the blacks to actually root in and grow for me. So for now, I'm dealing with more colors, but I think having this raspberry in the garden is just a beautiful variety. And what I like to do, again, is I love to leave them, let them go to seed and just disperse naturally. So this will actually stay here all summer long. I have found that the seed rooting in actually has been more successful from those that I've just left and just let them naturally dispose of their seeds and spread around the garden. Of course, the next couple of weeks, we're going to have beautiful lilies coming out here. There's more daylilies around front. But another plant that's performing absolutely perfectly this time of year is this beautiful garden phlox. This is the fashionably early purple garden phlox. And garden phlox is one of my favorite plants, has been for years and years. And there's always been a beautiful drift. This is, again, in the bed that we planted when we first moved here, so I had to have phlox right away, and it's performed really, really well. Of course, having tons of rain this year, I think, has been very beneficial. And this is one that we always sell out at the garden center because it's just so popular, and it just has grown really well for us here in Northeast Oklahoma. Again, this is the fashionably early series, and I believe this is the purple or the lavender. Don't quote me on that because it could be the lavender now that I think about it. But it's just done really, really well. And again, for the 1st of June, it's one of the great garden plants you want to have here in the garden. And one of the things I see right away I need to fill up my bird feeder here in the front, one of these little antique or vintage bird feeders that I love having in the garden. Down front, you'll notice the rose bushes. In this particular bed, I haven't deadheaded them just yet. Going to have to get to those. I notice my sweet mademoiselles are kind of petering out as well, so I'm going to have to get to trimming those back. Of course, I have a weeping Norway spruce, which gives a great structure here in the front. If you look on down, you'll see even more hollyhocks coming up. Let's step on down, move on around to the next garden. So now we've moved on to the shade garden, but before we start, I have to introduce you to 2 new creatures who have joined us here at the farm. These guinea hens have made their way to the farm from we don't know where. This is Shasta and Daisy. Shasta's the gray, Daisy's the white. And as you can see, they're loving eating underneath the bird feeder, but they just flew onto the property. We don't know where they came from, who they belong to, but they have been such a fun treat to have around the farm. Well, I'm so glad I got to introduce you to the new guinea. You never know what you're going to find here at the farm. So that's another one of the fun benefits of living so far out of town. But if you'll just look around at this garden, it is performing beautifully. I've never seen the Hosta look so lush and so full because we've never had this type of rain this time of year. They are absolutely taking over this area, but I just love the way it looks. In time, probably what I'll do is in an early spring, divide these up as I begin another shade garden over in a kind of little mini wooded area. So in time, these will get divided up. But I want you to just look at the beautiful combination of colors, just even within these 3, how you have more lime green in places, more of the bluish green, and then this is one of my favorites here. It is the forbidden fruit, and it has performed so well. I just love this combination. And again, this is one of those things that I try not to use too many whites. I just like the different variations in green, and I think they look stunning this year. The hellebores are getting covered over just a little bit, so I'm going to have to watch that because I don't want to lose those. But just the lushness of all of these hosta is just absolutely beautiful. But there is a little color over on this side, so I want to take you over and show you this area really quickly. So over on this side is actually where we have a little color, and I wanted to show you. This is that part of the garden that we just put in earlier this spring, and look how it's filling in. Of course, we haven't done our mulching. I've got a few little weeds here and there I'll have to take care of, but just look at this astilbe, this beautiful kind of a fuchsia plum color astilbe, a great plant to have in the shade area to give you some color. And then just over behind there, look at that double blooming hydrangea from Bloomables. It is performing perfectly. No stress from heat, lack of rain. Again, it's been a perfect temperature for it, and it just adds this beautiful color to the back with having this very dark fencing. It gives you a lot of punch of color, and something that, seeing it this time of year, it's probably something I'm going to look to see about adding some more since these are performing so well. Of course, we planted a lot of these trees over here to turn this into a shade area. We really only had the cottonwood behind you that was really in this area. So we've added a lot of Japanese maple. We've added these autumn blaze maples, a sugar maple. It has turned this into a great little shady area. Certainly a great area to come and relax on a hot evening when everything's starting to get a little cloudier, when the sun's going down and the temperatures are getting a little cooler. It's just a great little garden to come to. And as you can see, the containers are actually doing really well too. So I'm really happy with the way this garden is coming together. Again, this is another garden where we're going to be putting in flagstone. I hope to get to working on that here soon. Once the ground gets nice and settled and isn't so mucky and mushy. So here at the end of the tour, I want to take you around and show you our star of the garden, always the pollinator garden on the back of the house. So let's go on this way. So now we've made our way back to the pollinator garden, and it has just been performing beautifully well because of, again, all of this rain. Just look, the bronze fennel is just in perfect glory, standing nice, tall, and erect. More daylilies are going to be out within a couple of weeks, all in bloom. Of course, the scabiosa, as you come down the path, is looking good. More of the Rockin Playin the Blues salvia, which is performing really well. And then another plant that has only been in a year that I'd always wanted and had a hard time finding, actually, and I was able to get some sent in, is the Proven Winners geranium, which is the Boom Chocolata. And I did not realize just how tall they would get. Of course, it's kind of hidden by a lot of the other plants, so I'm sure it's reaching up to get out into the sunlight. But I love the dark foliage, giving you a different type of foliage shape and color to really stand out amongst all of these greens. But I also love just this pale bluish purple bloom. I think is just beautiful. There are tons and tons of buds up in here, and it just has performed very well. Again, it's the Boom Chocolata geranium from Proven Winners, another one I think everyone should have. And then coming on down, more daylilies will be blooming out really soon. And just look here at the angel trumpet. Of course, this is the angel trumpet that we take out and then have to bring back in because it's a tropical. It's not going to live here in our zone. We're kind of zone 6A, 6B, 7A is our zone. So it gets pretty cold for us in the wintertime, and these would not survive. But just look at how well it's already coming out. It'll just grow and get fuller as we go throughout the summer season, but it's just performing so well. And then back here is actually the Mystic Spire salvia. It looks so close to the Rockin Playin the Blues salvia. Mystic Spires is also one that I love to have in the garden every year. And if you look very close, you can see the bumblebees this evening are really flying around on all the little florets in through here. A great pollinator magnet. And with this just being just off the back of the screen porch, it's fun, especially in the evenings, to sit and look at all the pollinators here in the salvia. Of course, more deadheading is going to have to take place as we get to the dianthus. But our milkweed, again, this being a pollinator garden, I have a couple different varieties of milkweed. The milkweed's doing pretty well. Got a lot of aphids and things on this, but we always leave it, just let it stay natural because we want our caterpillars to be healthier. Again, this is the tuberosa variety of the milkweed, looking very well. And I just love the combination of the orange, the lime green of the carex, and then you've got this palish blue of the Anouk lavender. I just love the change of color that we have in through here. Going to be working again to get more mulching done, hopefully here soon, and getting this all pulled in together. Got to do some more deadheading on the salvia. But if you'll look back in here, a couple more interesting plants that I always love to have. I have the Agastache, this is the Kudos Ambrosia variety that we have, which is kind of an orangey with a little bit of pink. Had this in the garden 2 or 3 years now. And then right here, just next to it, is that candy corn spirea. That was the plant that really stood out in early season videos just because it had that light foliage. And look, it's still bright and limey green, and now it's taking on these pink blooms here at the top, which again is another plant that the pollinators absolutely love to come to. So can't wait to see this all completely covered here in the top. And then over on this side, a couple more plants that are certainly worth mentioning. I have the skyscraper salvia, beautiful pink color this year. This is one that I have not trimmed back at all just yet because the pollinators have just been flocking to it. And then one more plant I want to show you, because it's right here in bloom, is this tobacco flower. This is the Nicotiana, and it is all came back from seed from last year. I have the lime green and the white that perform really well here in the garden. And every night about this time, we're kind of moving into the 6:30 to 7 o'clock time period, the fragrance on these actually come to life. And as you walk through the arbor and come back here to the pollinator garden, it's just a very heady, light perfume that you smell. Again, this is the Nicotiana, and this is white variety, and it's so easy. Another plant that I let go to seed, and then I decide where I want to move it around in the garden if the seeds get dispersed too far. It's gotten a little heavy, so I'll probably do some cutting back. Again, with the beating rains, it's kind of taking a toll on these as well. So I'll probably cut these back, let these flush back out, so we'll have another flush that'll come up here in the summer. But the pollinator garden is really just taking off. Oh, let me show you one more thing I almost forgot. The Monarda or bee balm is really taking off. Just look at this beautiful deep purple bloom. Just a mass in here. Of course, a couple of weeds trying to make their way in, but it has been, again, covered with tons of bees. I noticed more in the daytime. They were just flying around this huge mound of Monarda right here. And it, again, is a great performer in the pollinator garden, so I definitely wanted to show you that. Of course, even more plants are going to be coming to life. The yarrow is really starting to take off, and the salvia, which I've cut back, it's really going to be putting out its next flush. And then I'm going to have my white daisies here before too long as well. So it's nice to just have this rotating rounds of color that come out in a pollinator garden with all the different perennials. And I just love to pack it in. I love that cottage garden feel, and it certainly is starting to feel like that here this year. And I'm very happy with the way that it is performing. So I guess we're going to wrap it up here at the back of the pollinator garden. Coming up in a couple of videos, we're going to actually be starting some new gardens, some new beds that I'm going to be bringing you back and showing you, because I've had so many plants over to the side waiting for things to just dry up so that we can get those gardens started. And hopefully within the next couple of weeks, I can get those going, and we'll be sharing those videos coming up. So remember, if you liked this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow me, the Preppy Gardener. And I look forward to being back with you in another video very soon.